evening or afternoon. So you join me walking along Hadrian's Wall, which you've probably heard of. Romans didn't like people from the north, built a wall. It's a bit windy. Anyway, I'm spending the night here, not on the wall. I'm in an inn on the road nearby. And then tomorrow I fly off to the Faroe Islands for 4 nights. So I guess I won't tell you too much about here. I'm at Caulfields, where there is a old quarry which is now full of water, so it makes a nice little lake. And then the wall stretches out either way from there. So I'm just going to walk along, find a few pictures of the wall to show you, and then you can join me once we get to the Faroe Islands tomorrow. Morning, and welcome eventually to the Faroe Islands. So I actually arrived not last night, the night before, but at about midnight, because my flight was delayed by about 6 hours in the end, I think. Basically there was a big storm passing through here and the winds were terrible all of the day that I was meant to land. Most flights got diverted until very late in the day, so I was tracking a few that disappeared off to Bergen and Copenhagen after circling here for an hour and then came back again later. So yeah, got here midnight. Yesterday the weather was pretty terrible, so it was raining most of the day, which isn't too bad. The problem was the wind was just ridiculously strong, so I did go out for a bit of an explore, but I didn't get too many photos because every time I got out of the car I was almost blown away. So, you know, water being blown onto the camera lens at high speed while you can't even stand still isn't very good. But I got a few snaps which I'll pop up in a moment. Thought I'd quickly show you where I'm staying. So it's a boathouse in the middle of the islands. So you see where the airport is down on the west, and then I'm fairly central up here. A place called Hostik, which is pretty good because everything's sort of half an hour to 40 minutes away. Show you around. It's quite a nice place. So this is the main room, bedroom through there, and there is another bedroom there which I'm not using. And then if we spin around this way, better. So this is the main room, so nice space to sit, comfy chair, nice kitchen area. I have washed up, but I haven't put anything away. But the best thing is the view. If we open the door, so there was quite a nice sunrise this morning through the clouds, and although that looks like a lake, it's actually just the Atlantic Ocean. Just running between two of the main islands here. Anyway, enough yakking. I'm going to stick some coffee in a flask and then head out, and hopefully today I'll be a bit more successful, because I think tomorrow, probably around lunchtime, the weather's sort of coming back into heavy rain again, hopefully without the wind, but I think today is probably going to be where most of the images are taken. Anyway, time to move on. Right, first stop of the morning. So I've driven up to the northern tip of the island, next to the island I'm staying on, which I've forgotten the name, as I always do. And anyway, at the top of there, on the coast, there is a bit of a, what I would call an intermittent waterfall. So it tends to appear after periods of heavy rain and falls off the cliffs straight into the sea. And because yesterday was raining quite a lot, I thought I'd come and see if it's kicking about, and it is. So I just need to make my way across here to get a vantage point of it hitting into the water, I reckon. So you can probably see the waves behind me are quite crashy, which is pretty cool. So there's a big expanse of sort of flat rock out here, so I'm going to try and make my way down to that. And I think there's a sort of inlet, so hopefully I should be able to get a vantage point of the waterfall down there. Not sure on shutter speeds. I don't want to go really long, so I'm not going to use the 10 stop because it'll just blur everything, but I want a bit of motion in the waves, so I'm probably going to stick like an ND8 on, see how that comes out. But anyway, better find the composition first. Right, so I picked my way across the rocks as far as I could, so spin round. You can probably see waterfall there. The waves are pretty crashy and cool. Annoyingly, the best focal length for this I felt was sort of the 50mm, which just frames the edge of the cliffs and the waterfall nicely. But for reasons, I don't have an ND filter for that, so I just dialed down the aperture. Got the exposures as sort of long as I could, realistically. I did stick on the wider 24mm, as I do have a ND for that, so do some slightly longer exposures. And I've just shot down the other way as well. You can see the waves are pretty mad. There's a cool rock outcrop over in the distance there. So I might stick on probably the 135 and do a close-up of that as well, which I did yesterday from up on the cliffs, which you might have seen earlier. But yeah, do one from down here as well. And then I'll pick my way back and head on to the next stop. Right, hopefully one or two reasonable pictures of the waterfall there, and I whizzed up the drone as you saw, because it's quite breezy but it's not too bad, so the drone didn't have any problems. Anyway, next stop is up over the mountain pass, and I'm probably going to go to a village called Georg something, which apparently is quite pretty and has a narrow little harbour and things. On the way there is a mountain viewpoint I might stop at, but does involve climbing up the mountain a little way to get to it. So hopefully, if it's not raining and not too windy, I'll do that. But I'm looking forward to getting back to my car, which is just over there, where my flask of coffee should be at a drinkable temperature by now. Hopefully you can hear me. It is quite windy. I probably should dig out the other microphone. Maybe I'll do that for the next stop. Right, I've just reached the parking for the walk up to the viewpoint, so if I turn around, basically need to cross a little stile here and then walk up that hill. Hopefully I can walk up the shallow bit. I don't really fancy walking up that bit. That's quite steep, but we'll see. I think you get up to the shallow bit and then you can walk up the ridge a little way if you want. We're over here. There's even a helpful sign, so you can tell this is Voigtlander. Anyway, yeah, it looks like we can walk up the shallow part here, and then if you want, clamber up the ridge and come back down. I'll see how I feel when I get up there. It looks like the initial path is fairly well marked, at least. Nice little green sticks. Oh, it's weird. It's like it's gravel or tarmac, but also squishy underfoot. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking to you and get wandering because it looks boggy. I think there's some definite alternate route planning going on here. Well, so far this is disgusting. But the little green poles have led to another stile over the fence. After that, I think it goes a little bit more uphill, which is good, because I'm hoping that being on the slope it's going to be a lot less boggy, because across this flat area it's been disgusting. My shoes haven't started leaking yet though. Right, clamber over the fence. Well, there's no green poles anymore, so I think you pretty much just pick your own route. So I'm going to head middling upwards. I wondered where the person from the other car was, and up the ridge there, progressed a little way up. So I'm just walking along pretty much flat and a bit less boggy along here, and I think once we get to the edge over here should get the first glimpse of the view down the fjord, I guess. It's a nice bit of light hitting the mountains over there, so hopefully that'll hang around for a few minutes. There's lots of gaps in the cloud, so I think we should be okay. Well, as you can see, the view is pretty good. Sadly, the sun has properly come out now. It's kind of right above the shot, so I'm going to wait for it to disappear behind some clouds. So I think while I do that, I'm going to carry on walking up the hill a little bit further to get some more elevation. Right, well, I've made it up to the top of the hill, or most of the way up the hill to the viewpoint. As you can see, it's pretty cool. So I'm just waiting for the sun to go behind a bit of thicker cloud. I've grabbed one shot, but there'll be really horrible bright patches in the sky if it doesn't disappear. So hopefully it'll vanish in a minute. In the meantime, I'll just sort of enjoy the view, really. You can see all the way across to next islands over there. I think the island in a strip along there is possibly Kalsoy. So there's a sort of famous photo spot at the end of that with a lighthouse. But I'm not sure I'm going to get there because I think the weather tomorrow will be too bad. But not to worry, I'll enjoy what's on offer here. Right, you might remember earlier I mentioned I was going to go to a village not too far from here. I think I might forego that because there was another couple of spots I wanted to visit this afternoon. Time's pressing on. I think I spent too long fanning around up here and at the waterfall earlier. So I need to basically head back and get some lunch and then keep going south to where the other spots are. And I might have to get the camera out again here, because if I turn around, it probably doesn't come out well on here, but the light hitting that mountain in the distance is amazing. So and the sun reflections disappeared off the sea, so I'm going to stop talking and take another shot. Right, I've had my lunch. So this afternoon I've gone for a walk at Trelanipan, yes, which is some large cliffs which are next to a big lake that's by the airport. So photographed from the right angle, it sort of looks like the lake is floating high above the sea. Well, not floating, but you know, it's at the top of the cliff and the sea is at the bottom of the cliff. Anyway, I paid my 200 kroners, my ticket, which warns on the back it'll be windy, don't fall off the cliff. And actually, over there in the distance you can maybe make out the airport. I was glad we landed correctly the other night and not in the lake, which would have been bad. Anyway, I'll stop talking for a minute. Head on the trail. So far so good. Presumably about halfway along now, I think. Annoyingly, for the weather being terrible yesterday, it's sort of verging on too nice today, so there's quite a lot of blue sky around now, which isn't quite what you want for a photo here. You want a bit of drama, but I think potentially I'm going to have to settle for fluffy clouds. There are some fluffy clouds around, which is good, but over there it's just completely clear, so we'll see what happens when we get there. But it is much more pleasant to wander around in today than yesterday. Well, I made it up to a viewpoint. The path does go a little bit higher, but I'll probably stop here for a photo anyway. Disguising the fact I need to catch my breath, because the last little bit was quite uphill, even though the rest of the path was level. Hilariously, well, amusingly, I walk over here. You'll spot the ground is nicely worn away, which does sort of indicate here's where you take your photo from, which kind of makes sense. So we get up to the edge here. So yeah, you really do get the feel of the lake being high above the rest of the ocean, like the sign says. Right, stop talking and take a photo. Well, I took a couple of pictures down there at the viewpoint. Nearly had a bit of a disaster, rookie error. I turned the camera on and it was flashing no card at me, and I realised at lunchtime I'd got the images from this morning off onto the laptop. Forgot to put the card back in the camera, but luckily I've got spares in my bag, so it was okay. I think the image worked out. It's kind of bright out here, so it's hard to tell on the back of the screen properly. Ideally I'd have been a little bit closer to the cliff edge to get some separation of the bottom of the cliff and the ocean, but I was already a bit precarious, and if you fall down the cliff here then you don't survive because it's a long way down and I'm not that brave. So anyway, The view up here is pretty good, as you can probably tell. Off in the distance you've got all the smaller islands that form the southern part of the Faroes. Swing back round, you don't want to look at me. We've got the lake, and off over there, which I'll take a look at in a minute, is going to be the waterfall. So what I might do, it's not too windy up here actually, I might see if I can get the drone up for a bit of a super wide angle panorama just above where I'm standing. That might come out quite well. There's no one else around, so I'm not going to irritate them. Well, the last planned stop for the day anyway is another waterfall, and it's on the coast a little way up from the airport. I think it's called Mulvafossa, but it's quite a pretty setting with a mountain and village just behind it as the waterfall tumbles into the sea. So all the drama's gone, as you can probably tell, blue skies, but it's getting reasonably late in the afternoon, so the light is at least quite golden and pretty. Judging by the number of cars parked up on the roadside there, I might be fighting for tripod space as well, but we'll see when we get there. So as you can see, it's just blue skies here now, but the water was landing in the ocean and making a rather perfect little white circle of foam. So anyway, grabbed a shot and I put on the ND filter just to get a slightly longer exposure. I think it was about 1/5 of a second, just to get a bit of blur into the water. So hopefully it'll still be a nice photo. It's lacking, dramatic clouds and splashing waves, but as this isn't too far from the airport, maybe I'll stop by here again in the morning on Monday before my flight. We shall see. Right, back to the car. Right, it's Sunday afternoon now. The weather this morning has been pretty awful, similar to the day I arrived really, just really strong winds, heavy rain. So I've stayed inside most of the morning and just got on with editing the photos I've taken so far. It's just starting to ease up, still a lot of low cloud, a bit of rain, a little bit of wind still, it's still blustery, but given that I'm heading home tomorrow, I figured I'd better get out there and see what I can find. So I'm going to go first to the village of Saxon, which is over on the west coast of this island, so it's not too far away. That's meant to be a pretty village with lots of sort of turfed roof houses and so on. So yeah, head over there and hope the weather isn't too bad. Well, as you can probably see in here, the rain came back. So I did get to the village of Saxon, took a couple of photos of the church, which is quite pretty, but then it started tipping it down, and even through my waterproof coat and trousers I'm now soaked. So I'm going to sit here for a few more minutes, just in case it stops again. but I'm not convinced it will. So, yeah. Possibly that's all I'm going to get done today, which is a bit of a washout. But these things happen. So yeah, I'll stick the pictures of the church up in a moment, and whether there'll be anything else after that or not, you'll have to wait and see, because I don't know at this point. Right, it's the last morning here. Before I head to the airport, I've come back to Saxon, where I was yesterday afternoon with the horrific rain. It's still a little bit breezy, but it's alright, and it's not raining at the moment. So I'm going to go and see if I can get some photos of the little turf-roofed houses that are here before I head off in the direction of the airport. So, fingers crossed, grab a few images. Some sheep's down here, just chewing. He stopped chewing when I looked at him. Right, do something before the rain starts. So the little turf houses are pretty cute. Well, there is an annoying kind of electric fence there for a couple of horses, so it does ruin the ambience a little. I may have to do a little Photoshop tidying for that one. But yeah, quite a nice, whoa, windy. Quite a nice set of different angles to pick from here. Nice waterfall in the background, which I'll probably capture separately as well. You can see down there the tidal lagoon. So, being tidal, it fills up and empties out twice a day. I think we're on a falling tide at the moment because it was high tide at my cabin this morning. Anyway, right, stop talking, grab a couple more photos. Well, as you saw, finally landed back in the UK at Edinburgh. So I'm spending the night here and then heading north to the Highlands tomorrow. But that's going to be another video, not this one. So I hope you enjoyed this brief trip to the Faroe Islands. I'll definitely need to go back. Too much rain and wind, so I only really got a day and a half to explore properly. But anyway, thank you for watching. See you again soon.